Sadhguru. It's such a pleasure to have this opportunity. Thank
Wonderful.
you. We're here at a beautiful, beautiful place, the Isha Institute of Inner Sciences. You're the founder of that. It's right here in McMinnville, Tennessee, and a haven for so many to come and learn meditation, learn yoga, find peace. Why did you establish Isha?
Why here, you're asking, or why?
Well, why in general and why here? Sure.
Why a foundation like this is because it's needed more than anything in the world today, because as a generation of people, we've reached a place where everything else is in place, only the human being is not in place. Like, we have comforts like never before, we have conveniences like never before. In every way, we are the most comfortable generation ever on this planet, materially. But we cannot say we are the most joyful generation on the planet. We cannot say we are the most peaceful or loving or any of these things. So everything else is in place like never before. Only the human being is displaced within himself. So the most important thing that needs to happen is right now for human beings to become meditative. When I say meditative, I am not talking about meditation as some practice, I'm talking about meditation as a quality within ourselves. If we set the right kind of conditions in our body, in our minds, emotions and our life energies, meditation will blossom within us. It's not something that we do, it's something that we become. So I feel right now this is the most important thing that needs to happen for the tremendous potential that human beings hold in their hands because of access to technology and science and various other possibilities that we have. If only the necessary blossoming happens within the human being, which every human being is capable of, we will create a fabulous world. And I think as a generation we should strive for that.
I totally agree. In fact, I was just talking with you before we started that you and I are very close to the same age.
No, I'm 101 years more than you.
Okay, if you insist. But it makes me wonder what your life was like growing up. I know what my life was like growing up here in Middle Tennessee, and it was wonderful. I had wonderful parents and an opportunity for education, spiritual background. What was your life like growing up?
This may be a little unusual for people, but my memory goes back to a time when I was 3-4 months of age. I remember small incidents that happened around me, not some earth-shaking major events. I'm saying simple things. I would even know what kind of dress my mother would be wearing, what color she would be doing. When I mentioned these things to her, she would be shocked. She said, "How can you remember this?" So my memory goes back like this. Because of this, in many ways, when I was 3-4 years of age, I was thinking about the same way as I think today. Either I never was a child or I never grew up. It's up to you to make the judgment. So, because of that, I can say my life was not that of a usual child, because I never was one. My thought was just about like this. Even at that moment I questioned everything. This happened to me when I was 3-4 years of age, that suddenly I realized, actually I don't know anything about anything. It became like this, that if they gave me a glass of water, I would not know what water is. I know how, if I drink this, it'll quench my thirst, I can use it in so many ways. I know how to use it, but I do not know what water is. Even today you do not know, nobody knows, isn't it? 2/3 of the planet is water, 2/3 of your body is water, and if you are looking for life, we look for a drop of water anywhere. This is the only thing available on all the 3 states, present in all the 3 states on the planet, in terms of being gaseous and liquid and solid. We still do not know what water is. If we actually look at it closely enough, with all the scientific exploration, we do not know even a single atom in its entirety, that's a fact. We know it in parts, we know how to use everything, but we do not know what it is. So when I was about 3.5, 4 years of age, this just struck me so much, in such a way that if I stare at the water, I will be staring at this water for 3, 4 hours at a stretch. If I find a leaf, I'll be looking at it for many, many hours. If I sit up in the night in the bed, I'll be staring at the darkness the whole night. My dear father, being a physician, he started thinking I need psychiatric evaluation. My problem is, I look at this and I don't know what this is, I'm not able to shift my attention to anything else. In this condition, they sent me to school. So my mother said, you must pay attention to the teachers. I paid absolute attention to the teachers. The kind of attention they would have never received from anybody. Initially, I heard the words they were talking. After some time, I realized they're only making sounds, I'm making up the meanings in my mind. See, right now, if I start speaking in a language that you do not understand, it will be just sounds for you. Now because see, language is a conspiracy between two people. If I make a sound, you make a meaning in your mind.
Right.
When I realized that I'm making up the meanings, I stopped making the meanings. And as I watched the teachers going on making sounds throughout the day, it became very amusing. And a big smile spread on my face. They were not amused at all. So this happened to me about 5 years ago. The school where I studied, a little over 4 decades ago, their 125th anniversary, they came to invite me.
Oh.
I said, the trustees of the school came, I said, see, why me? I was not just a not good student, I was not even a student. Why me? So they said, our school has produced sports stars, film stars, federal ministers and all this, but you are the only mystic, so you have to come. So I went to speak there. I just saw, stood up in the quadrangle looking at the school after almost 45 years. This classroom, when I looked at it, I suddenly remembered. I was around 12, little over 12 years of age. As usual, I was paying absolute attention to the teacher, but I don't even hear a word of what they're talking. I know the teachers past, present and future, but I cannot hear a word that they're speaking. So the teacher is trying to get a response from me. After 35–40 minutes of futile effort, he came, held me by the shoulder, shook me violently like this and said, you must either be the divine or the devil, I think you're the later. Till that moment my problem was, I did not know what is this, what is that, everything was a question mark to me. But I knew one thing, that this is me. Suddenly this man confused me about this also. Now I did not know whether this is divine, devil or what is it? So I tried to stare at myself, it didn't work, so I closed my eyes and sat. Initially, it was for hours, then it moved like this. One day I sat down like this. I thought in my experience it must be 25–30 minutes. But when I opened my eyes, there was a big crowd around me. India being what it is, people were tugging at my feet, and somebody wants to know about their business, somebody wants to know when their daughter will get married, all kinds of fancy things which I always had allergy towards. So when I asked, where did you all appear from? They said, you've been sitting here for 13 days. I thought it was just 25–30 minutes. Time just started flipping in my experience. If I just sit like this, I think it's 2 minutes. When I open my eyes, hours have just gone by. So the experience of time just got completely mixed up within me. What I thought was a minute would be like this. 25–30 minutes turned out to be 13 days in other people's experience. So from then on there was no looking back. Things evolved in so many different ways. I cannot articulate all of it. But one thing I saw was, if I simply sit here, I would be bursting with ecstasy. Then I thought, this is so simple, you don't have to do anything. If you don't do anything, no mess in your mind, if you sit here, every cell in your body will burst forth with ecstasy. So this is what I've been trying to rub off on other people.
I love that. I love that. So you're a mystic, a yogi, visionary?
I'm not a mistake.
No? You're described as a mystic.
I said I'm not a mistake.
A mystic. A mystic. Sorry about that Tennessee accent there. Poet? You write poetry?
Yeah, I think I wrote one today morning. I should have read it to you.
Oh, man.
I didn't
okay,
get it.
maybe I can get that later. So, how do you advise other people to embrace that ecstasy, to embrace that mindfulness?
My basic advice is don't listen to anybody's advice, because what is most fundamental to life, that which is the source of life, is already embedded in you. Why should you listen to me? Because you're not listening to that which is the basis of your creation, you have to listen to all kinds of people. So my effort is just to provide people methods with which they can… When I say listen, immediately people will start hearing voices, so I would not say listen to it, because mind has so many manifestations. Mind is a room with 1,000,000 rooms. Mind is a home with 1,000,000 rooms. So, different rooms of the mind, different strata of the mind, you may start thinking is your inner whatever. What is the source of creation is functioning within you. See, if you eat a piece of bread, it transforms itself into human body. There is an intelligence here, there is a competence here which can make a piece of bread into such a sophisticated technology which we call as a human system. So, if only a drop of that intelligence entered your conscious life, you will live magically. So my effort is to give people methods through which they can touch that, through which they can bring that drop of the intelligence of the creation into their daily life, where they can live magically instead of living miserably.
Right. What are some of those methods? Can you share some of those methods? Describe them, or… Or do people need to experience it? Do they have to come?
They're experiential.
Okay.
This is why this is called as inner engineering, technologies for well-being. It is not something that it is not a teaching, it is not a philosophy, it is not an ideology, it is not a belief system, it is a technology. That means you just have to learn how to use it. So why I'm calling it a technology is, it doesn't matter what you believe in or you don't believe in. That's up to you. It doesn't matter which culture you come from, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman or whatever you are. If you learn to use it, it works. It's like you take your phone, you take your BlackBerry.
Yes.
Maybe I'm doing an unpopular thing, I should say apple. Wrong fruit. I'm mentioning the wrong fruit. Suppose you take your phone, if you learn to use it, it'll work for you. If I learn to use it, it'll work for me. It doesn't matter whether we agree with each other or not.
Right.
But if you learn to use it, it'll work. So it is offered as a technology so that every human being can make use of it. Today millions of people are there across the planet. They're made like this today. If they just as much as close their eyes, tears of ecstasy will drip out of them. I can show you millions like this. So this is the basis of what we are doing.
And that's why you call it an inner science, an inner
Yes.
technology, right?
How to make this happen at its ultimate possibility, not in a mediocre way, in its fullest dimension. See, suppose you plant an apple tree. If you give it the necessary ambience and nourishment, it will become a full-fledged apple tree. So the seed of the apple has all this. Similarly, every human being, if he is given an inner ambience and the nourishment that is needed within himself, he will become a full-blown human experience. It does not need any teaching or outside inputs. All it needs is a perfect ambience. So the technology is only about providing that inner ambience so that your own intelligence, your own logic, your own emotions do not turn against you. Right now, that is what humanity is suffering from. It's not about what somebody else is doing to you. Your own intelligence, your own emotions, your own chemistry is turning against you in the form of ailments, in the form of different sufferings, because over 70% of the world's human ailments are self-created, it's happening from within the system. That means our own body is turning against us because we don't know how to keep it.
Now, you said an interesting thing at the World Peace Day, which was wonderful here, and so many people from all walks of life here in harmony, and I love that. You mentioned that you thought it was funny that in our country we're hung up on stress management. Can you just share that? I thought that was brilliant, actually, because I'm always thinking, how can I manage my stress?
See, management is for things that are precious to us. We manage things which are precious to us. Your family, your money, your business and home must be managed. Why should you manage something that you don't need? So stress is not a part of you. Stress is a certain friction that is happening within your own system. If your mind took instructions from you, would it be stressful, I'm asking? Would you generate stress?
No.
Or joy?
Joy.
Definitely.
You would just,
So
yes,
right now the
joy.
problem is not of stress, the problem is your mind is not taking instructions from you. Suppose you're driving your car, and if your car does not take instructions from you, what will happen? Dangerous, isn't it?
That's right.
Similarly, life is dangerous when your own mind and your own body does not take instructions from you. So people are existing with such a danger all the time, and it makes them very anxious because they know they're not in control of themselves.
When you are mindful and you think about…
No, I'm not talking about being mindfulness, no.
Okay.
You're getting Buddhist.
Okay.
I'm not talking about mindfulness. I'm just saying this body and this mind are two instruments, two faculties for you to make this journey of life. Two important faculties. It's like your car, let's say. This is hardware, this is software.
Okay.
These two things must take instructions from you. If they're not taking instructions from you, we have to look where the keyboard is, isn't it?
Okay.
We can do a simple experiment. You will see how subtle this body is means, if you hold your palms facing down and breathe, you will see the maximum expansion contraction will happen in the lower lobe of the lung. If you just turn it around, it'll move to the middle lobe. You can experiment and see.
Okay.
Uncross your legs.
Uncross my legs. I'm gonna do what… Do I need to put my leg under here, like this?
No.
No?
Just keep it
Okay. All
comfortable.
right, so put it here.
Hold it this way, all five fingers together. With your spine erect, breathe slightly deeper than normal, eyes closed.
Eyes closed.
Yes. Notice where the maximum expansion and contract, which part of your lung expands most. Just notice that.
Yes.
Turn it around and notice this.
Okay. Okay, that's
Do you
amazing.
distinctly notice this?
Yes.
So when you do
Yes.
this, it's in the lower lobe of the lung. When you
Right.
turn this around, it's in the middle lobe of the lung. So you notice it either in your
Yes.
diaphragm or in your
Right
chest.
here, right.
So, just as much as turning your hand around, the very way you breathe is altering itself. It's not just a breath, the very way your life energies function is altering itself. Now, how many times in a day unconsciously are you doing this?
Too many times, too many
And
times.
now you set your energies into turmoil and hoping to be peaceful. Life doesn't work like this.
No.
This is like you don't know what the three pedals in your car are. Just kick them around whenever you feel like it, and you know what a jerky driver you will be.
Right.
Right now that's all it is. It is not that there are human beings here who do not know what is peace, being peaceful or joyful or blissful or loving, they know that. Only thing is, it's not sustainable. If it happens in one moment, another, it just falls down. Just about, it is threatened just by anything around you, simply because you're driving by accident.
Right.
Without, you've been given a most sophisticated gadget on the planet is this human system, all right?
Right.
But you're trying to use hammer and anvil technology. You've been given a
Yes.
supercomputer. If you touch it, it'll change its dimensions. But you're still doing hammer and anvil technology and think it will work. It will work in a minimal way, not in its ultimate
Not-
way.
Right. So Guru, one of the problems I have, and maybe other people have, is what I call monkey mind. I just can't settle. I don't settle. I'm not still. If I close my eyes to be quiet, my mind's going in all these different places. That's not very peaceful.
We'll do a simple experiment with you, okay? With just for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you close your eyes and just make an attempt that you should not think of a monkey for this 10 seconds.
Okay.
10 seconds you should not think of a monkey. You failed many
I
times.
did, I think of a monkey. That's all I'm thinking about is a monkey.
So, what you need to understand is, the nature of the mind is such, if you say, I don't want something, only that will happen, okay?
Yes.
So to this mind, somebody told you, this is something that you should not think about. So that's a full-time job for most people. Whatever was told to them, do not think about it, that's become the full-time job. So, without understanding the fundamental nature of the mind, you're trying to handle it. It's not going to work like that.
Okay, all right, I'll get beyond that then. How do you think we can live in harmony together? It seems like there's so much strife in our world and anger.
To create strife and conflict, it takes effort. To be in harmony, it doesn't take any effort. If you just sit here, you're in perfect harmony, you know?
Right.
There's no conflict happening. Conflict takes effort. So why are people getting into conflict? There is a need for human being to be little more than what he or she is right now. If that little more happens, little more. If that little more happens, little more. So if you look at this, you're trying to essentially expand. Initially you think this is about money, this is about wealth, this is about property, this is about something or something. But actually if you look at it, the only longing you have is, you want to expand. Your currency may be different depending upon what you're exposed to in your life. Whatever each individual is exposed to,
right.
Accordingly somebody is looking for money, somebody is looking for knowledge, somebody is looking for love, but basically expansion is what we're looking for. So how much expansion will settle you for good? If you look at this, you need boundless expansion.
Yes.
That is the nature of the human being, nothing wrong with that. The problem is right now, we are so identified with our physical nature, we think we have to stretch ourselves physically. Physically, if you try to stretch your boundary, you will encroach upon me and I will confront you in some way and there's going to be a conflict.
Right.
So the problem is, what is an inner longing to expand limitlessly, we are trying to give a physical expression to it. Physical always comes with a defined boundary. Only because there is a defined boundary for this body, you can call it a physical body. If I take away the boundaries of your body, this will not be a physical body, isn't it? Right. Physical comes with a defined boundary, but your longing is to become boundless. And that longing has to find expression in a way which is beyond physicality, because that has not been cultivated in a society. Every human being is in a turmoil and a struggle, as if life is a struggle. So a lot of people are belting out philosophy saying that life itself is a struggle. Life is not a struggle, your mind is a struggle, because you don't know how to keep it. Mind is a miracle. A miracle has been transformed into a misery manufacturing machine right now.
Right.
Because such a great potential, they've not been taught how to use it. Did you read the user's manual?
No, I didn't read it.
Then
That's the problem, right? That's great. Well, how often do you come to Tennessee?
2-3 times a year I come.
Really? And I know people learn from you while you're here, and that is an opportunity for all, right? I mean, people can come and visit.
Yes, there are programs being conducted here and also in various cities. And it's also offered online, that people can actually do the initial part of the program online, and just the practice part they can come and learn. So that opportunity is also there. What I see is, if America drinks Coca-Cola, the rest of the world is drinking Coca-Cola. If America wears pants which are torn at the
Yes.
knee, the whole world is wearing that. If America meditates, the world will meditate. So America must meditate. This is the responsibility for the American people.
And the responsibility of our generation.
Yes, when
right?
when people are willing to imitate what you do, you must do the right things. It's like raising children in your house.
Right.
The children are looking at you and imitating what you do, so what you do matters now. So it very much matters. What the American people do today matters for the rest of the world, so do the right thing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we are just about out of time, and I wanted you to just leave that one story about planting trees. You shared that at World Peace Day, about you saw a need and you saw a way to handle the need. And we all have that capability, right? One person has the capability to make a difference.
This, when I saw that the green cover in southern India was very low and we had to increase it, it took 6 to 8 years for me. I took 6 to 8 years planting trees in people's minds, because that is the hardest terrain. Once I successfully did that, now in the remaining 5-6 years, we have planted 17 million trees and increased the green cover by 7.2% according to official figures, but the Google Maps say it's around 9 to 10%. So, this was not done by any great funding or a big organization behind it, no, just ordinary people. It is just that if it takes root in our minds, after that making it happen in the world is not a great difficulty.
And one person can make a difference.
I won't say I did it all.
Well,
Millions of people stood up and did it, so…
right, right. Thank you for this time. I just want to thank you so much. It's been a joy getting to have this opportunity to visit with you. It's been a joy to get to know the people here.
It's time you engineer yourself now.
Okay.
We will teach you the way.
Okay.